In 1944, more than 700 representatives from 44 nations traveled to the Mount Washington Hotel. It was a secluded resort in the mountains of Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. With World War II coming to an end, they arrived to hammer out a new financial system for the global economy. And it's here that the Bretton Woods Agreement was born, and it's also where the dollar took center stage with its new role. International reserve currency, or the main currency the world would use to trade and save. Now, that being said, history shows us that since the year 1450, 5 different nations have held the title of world reserve currency, and each met their end at some point. So, is it a matter of if or when the US dollar will lose its status as a reserve currency? Well, we're going to talk about that and more, so stay tuned. YouTube, how the heck are ya? Welcome to another episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. I hope everyone's doing well, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the latest video here at the channel. And of course, also for the amazing support. You know, I really do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll say it in the future. Best damn community on YouTube. By far. Now, today, we're going to talk about the potential loss of reserve status of the US dollar, what it could lead to, and how it could affect silver and gold prices for us stackers. Now, please understand, this video's purpose is not to pump silver and gold, or convince you to get out there and buy all you can, or even to fearmonger. We're just going to present some facts as we know them so far, and it's up to you to do your due diligence and plan accordingly. So please stick to your stacking goals and within your means. Let's go ahead and roll this thing. So by now everyone's heard the news about BRICS nations, or Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, getting together and discussing dumping the dollar. According to Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin, the BRICS countries are all working together right now to produce and unveil a new global reserve currency to replace the dollar. And other nations are listening. So how'd we get here? Well, going back to the Bretton Agreement, we have to remember that the United States controlled most of the world's gold back then, and it pledged to link the value of the dollar to gold at $35 an ounce. Now, following that guideline, other countries then fixed their exchange rate to the dollar, which made it the central hub of the whole system. Unfortunately, the U.S. started racking up huge deficits and run out of its gold reserves in the 1960s, and the government found it too expensive to maintain the promise of the Bretton Agreement. So in 1971, President Nixon arranged a split between the dollar and gold by removing our currency from the gold standard. Now, in today's world, the dollar's value is now set by a mess of political and economic forces, which range from central bank decisions, printing it by the ton, and frenetic buying and selling of traders all around the world. Basically, the original arrangement set at Bretton Woods is long dead, but the dollar still remains the international reserve currency. Now, we could spend all day talking about why some countries are in favor of ditching the dollar. I mean, declining buying power aside, the current arrangement gives the United States government power, absolute power over the financial system. And we've increasingly used that power to sanction adversaries like Iran and Russia. I mean, you got to figure, is it any wonder Putin's been working to end Russia's reliance on dollars? And some countries out there don't want to be the next Russia. They don't want to face a weaponized dollar. And then there's China. Well, China can't stand anything about the United States, but they do love the Bretton Woods story. You know why? Because they see the United States as being the British of the 40s, a declining power, facing economic and political problems that basically threaten its global position. And lo and behold, they see themselves as being the Americans of the 1940s. But let's move into the gist of this video and get into whether or not the dollar could lose its reserve status, and what might happen if it does. So right now, there are 2 basic thought processes going on in this country in regard to this issue. One group is choosing to stand firm in the fact that the dollar is just too entrenched as the world reserve currency, and it's going to be difficult to replace. And despite fears about China, well, they believe there's just a lot standing in their way to displace the top dog. Now look, there are weaknesses to every fiat currency out there, and this group believes none are prepared to take over as a reserve currency. Now, if digital currencies are issued, that could change the entire game. China already has one. But look, the naysayers are going to tell you that the big currencies like the euro, they have too many fundamental doubts as it is, and China's yuan isn't stable enough like the dollar, believe it or not, where you can buy and sell at any time, and it's governed largely by the markets and not a government's whims. Now, those are their words, not mine. They're simply just not taking the threat seriously. And then there's the other half who see this looming issue as a worst-case scenario. They truly believe that if the dollar were to be replaced as a reserve currency, the sky would basically fall on the dollar and the United States. Now, another worry is that the rest of the world will stop trading oil using dollars or petrodollars, and that in itself would mean the end of the US dollar. And if that happened, there would be complete implosion of the global economic system, but certainly the American economic system. And if that were to happen, you'd be looking at sky-high inflation raging, like Weimar Republic kind of inflation. And if you think inflation is bad now, just wait. Again, their words, not mine. Now, again, I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm just trying to put out some thoughts on both sides. I can see valid points from each. I mean, yeah, there would be some challenges for replacing the dollar as the world reserve currency, but hell, it's not inconceivable. And from the other side, yes, the outcome for the dollar being replaced could be otherworldly, but nothing's guaranteed. You got to remember, 5 countries before us have survived the transition to their currency not being the global reserve. Look, bottom line is this. If you take a look at this chart, you'll see that every prior reserve currency was replaced, even after a period of time. So one way or the other, this will most likely be the case for the dollar as well. It's not really a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So how does all this mess affect gold and silver? Well, first off, China is most likely holding more gold than it says it is, and they've got a reason for that. Think about it. If they announce their true holdings in gold, it could jack up the price on the Chinese yuan and gold, which would have a direct impact on the value of the dollar going down. And since China retains more U.S. holdings than any other nation, hey, they're not going to want that to happen, at least not yet. Now, Russia has also been stockpiling gold because they've long known they needed to separate from the dollar, since it's being weaponized against them in U.S. sanctions over the war in Ukraine. But what kind of effect would the loss of reserve status have on gold and silver here in the U.S.? Well, it's my guess you'd see something similar to what just happened recently when the 2 major banks shut down. We saw both silver and gold go up as people kind of looked around for a safe haven for their wealth. Sales went way up, and quite a few local coin shops are having trouble meeting the demand in a lot of cases. Now, truth be told, it's gotten more expensive for us to stack precious metals as a result of just 2 banks failing, along with some other factors, but can you even begin to imagine what would happen if the dollar tanked as a reserve currency? I'm guessing complete chaos with precious metals and prices we've never seen. Look, here it is in a nutshell. Empires fall. Every fiat currency in history has failed. The world changes, and the United States has to be able to adapt to that or fall out of line. Now think back on that chart I showed you on countries that held reserve currency status and were eventually replaced. They survived the changes. Now, granted, these are different times. I can't honestly say that I have full faith in U.S. leadership to pull us through what would be an incredibly mucky situation, to say the least. If the answer is digital dollars, oh, I can tell you most of us aren't sold on that either. Not only for privacy reasons, but for the mere fact that CBDCs won't be immune to the same problems that paper dollars went through. Folks, inflation doesn't go away no matter how you reclassify your currency. Alright, so I want to start closing this video out with a quote from Sun Tzu's Art of War. I know, ironic. Where he stresses preparation and adaptability in warfare. He argues that a leader has to be well prepared for any eventuality and also able to adapt to changing circumstances. He goes on to say that a good leader is one who is always prepared and one who can adjust their strategy as needed. Folks, that is us in a nutshell right now as stackers. Make no mistake, we're not in combat, but we are in an economic war, and we can't stick our heads in the sand or, hell, just ignore what's going on around us. Listen to current events and prepare accordingly to the best of your ability. Now, maybe there's a lot of smoke and no fire right now, but I'm choosing to refer back to history and realize that the potentials are out there, and we need to be ready to adjust our strategies if and when the time comes. Remember, empires fade away, every former reserve currency has been replaced, and every fiat currency in history has failed. I mean, we have proof of that everywhere. It's all around. I've got $36 billion in Zimbabwe money, and it's not worth a loaf of bread. Same thing with the bolivars. Look, we know what survived all those situations. Through time, gold, silver, preparation, and adaptability. I'm going to leave it at that.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
All right. So there you have it. Be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts on this topic, as as far as the dollar being replaced and the potential outcomes if it is. Or will the dollar survive the attempted knockout punch and continuous status quo? Let me know. Let me know. This is a really touchy subject, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. And if you made it this far, well, kudos to you. I will definitely catch up with you in the next episode. But in the meantime,
What do you want to do with your life?
oh hell yeah, get stacked. Get stacked. Stay safe and be well, everyone. I am out of here. Peace, folks.